Nick Fuentes is like the king of Nazis online, and I've talked about this before, but this is not anywhere close to the first time that he has been popular. Go back to a few years ago, 4 years ago or so, and he was having a massive jump in popularity. He was going on every show, he was getting talked about on the news, and then he imploded himself because, well, the very nature of how his brand works, like not un in order to be cool in the first place, he has to be this kind of counterculture outside the mainstream media guy. So he always has to like break himself down in some self-destructive way in order to retain what fundamentally makes him special. It's really weird. Like, who he fundamentally is as an online figure necessitates that he can never really fall below a certain point, but he can also never stay above a certain point. Otherwise, the entire idea of him completely goes away. It falls apart. He was popular initially, like going back 10 years ago, fell apart. Go back 5 years ago, he was popular. Now he's popular again today, and once again, falling apart. And that is because, despite being sort of representative of the most fringe of the fringe of right-wing media pundits, he is going up to fight other right-wing fringe media pundits such as Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And you might be wondering, what is he going after them for? Well, surprisingly, I can't lie, somewhat critical support for Nick Fuentes on this one. He's criticizing them for being bought out by Russia. Nick Fuentes is a nationalist, after all. He is America first, and while I think there's a chance he could be a paid agitator, I think it's more likely that he legitimately is a real deal America first white nationalist type, and the idea of being cucked to Russia is not something he respects. So, more effectively than I've seen most progressive figures online, here he is, calling out Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens for their friendliness with Russia. Now, make no mistake, what is best for the right is for Nick Fuentes to join in, to start playing nice with Nick Fuentes, or not Nick Fuentes, with Candace Owens and Tucker, and to go to Russia and to get friendly with Putin. That would be best for the American right as a group. It might even be best for Nick Fuentes. But instead, he is sticking to some kind of principles that he believes the right cares about. Nick Fuentes thinks the right, like his audience, the people that he is surrounded by, have any amount of principles or they respect them at all. No. All this is going to do is ostracize him from the rest of the right-wing media sphere, calling them out for, being bought out by Russia. It's not even something I think most people in their audiences will respect, but let's see how it works out for him. Even though I do agree with his criticism here, I don't think it was smart of him to even make it. Well, let's watch, shall we?
To talk a lot more about this last year, but this is something you need to understand. I'm not saying I know for a fact that Candace is in on something or anything like that. I'm just saying this is generally true. All of these big influencers, you have to suspect that they are involved with foreign governments in some capacity. You just have to, because frequently they are. And it's weird.
I will say, as someone who is not involved with foreign governments, I can't say for a fact I know who is and isn't, outside of those that got, leaked. And they were involved, and they, people like fucking Tim Pool, who were getting paid by Russia. But I will say that it is difficult, at least in my case, it has been difficult to build the platform that I have as a progressive figure, or even just as a political figure. It feels like you need the backing of somebody. Like, somebody's got to have a ball in your court to... someone's got to be on your side, behind the scenes in order to get to the heights that some of these figures have gotten. I can definitely see why it would seem that must be common. I just write it up to maybe I'm not as entertaining as most other political figures or political news guys, and that's why they're larger, but who knows? Maybe they all are getting boosted by some foreign power or something. Who knows?
Now, Israel is the big one, and that goes without saying. How many of these people are kissing the wall, taking the trip? They come back wearing an IDF hat. They're taking the 7th...
He's referencing, people taking trips to Israel, going and kissing the Western Wall, the Western Temple, and doing the whole, media tour in Israel for the Israeli government, which is a real thing that happens. I believe even like, who is it? Javier Milei went and did the whole media tour where he was kissing the Western Wall. I think I saw like pictures of that. That was like a big thing.
$1,000. Like, that goes without saying that Israel has this immense influence in the United States. But Israel is truly not the only one. Why is Tucker Carlson in Saudi Arabia and Qatar all the time? Can anyone tell me why? It's so random. You have this brand that, you know, I'm out here in my cabin, I just like hunting and fishing, and I just love America so much. Okay, so why do you spend all this time in Riyadh? Why do you spend all this time in Qatar? Why did you buy a house?
Maybe he just owns a bunch of private oil interests there. You know, that'd be pretty American, right? Right? Like, that's really the most, like, American defensible thing I could think of is he owns some land out there. And he's got, like, or maybe he owns a stake in some, like, private oil interests out there. And he's, like, checking in on things himself, maybe. But that's being very generous.
There. It's just weird.
Maybe not oil, but some kind of natural gas, you know?
And the same goes for Candace Owens going to Russia. Why are you spending a week in Russia? Clearly something is going on there. Dan Kazarian. Yep. Jew Kazarian.
Remember, like, Tucker Carlson did that whole, like, Russian government propaganda tour, right? Where he went to, like, the grocery store and was like, look how cheap everything is, whoa! Meanwhile, it's absolutely roughly the same price compared to Russian wages as prices are compared to American wages in grocery stores here.
AKA Jew goes to the UAE and Qatar trying to get a golden visa. He goes to Corsica, he goes to Romania, and then he goes to Qatar and the Emirates, and he talks to their tourism minister, talks to the government there about obtaining a golden visa. And what you realize is that if you want to make the big bucks as an influencer, you need that foreign backing. If you want...
He might be right. He might be right. For all I know, all the other political commentators that are more successful than me are all foreign backed, but I feel like I would never make that allegation because I'd just get accused of being like salty and mad and jealous, which I wouldn't deny. I obviously am a little bit. I think anyone would be. But like Nick Fuentes is pretty successful in himself, and he thinks that might be the case. Like, say what you want. Nick Fuentes might be a broken clock on this one, you know what I mean? Like, he might be that broken clock that's right twice a day here. This might be one of those two times.
Immense resources to play in this game, which is political influence in America. You got to go to some other country and get your money up. That is what they do. And frequently it is, yeah, it's Russia, it's Turkey, it's the Saudis, it's the Emiratis, it's the Qataris.
Oh, Jaina, surprisingly, Nick Fuentes doesn't live in his mom's basement anymore, but he definitely is still doing the whole their body, my choice thing, for sure.
Obviously, it's Israel. It's India. They're all throwing money around. They are all throwing money.
Big W.
And they get around FARA, foreign agent registration, with all these convoluted ways. They'll give contributions in kind. They'll do it through very spurious means. We don't need to get into the details, but this is a huge thing. And, you know, we used to talk a lot about this last year, but there is a heavy Russian element in the so-called dissident right. It's always been there. And I will say there is a Qatari element as well. I know that the Israelis say that, but it is true. The Qataris opened up a brand new embassy last year. They are trying to get involved. They are paying people. And, you know, that's not downplaying. Israel does so much more. Israel does 10 times that, and it's so much more sophisticated. The Qataris are very sloppy, and they're just not as effective. The Israelis have got it.
I mean, like, most of what he's saying here is pretty accurate. Like, these are really very real examples of foreign powers that have been interfering in American politics, primarily on behalf of Republicans, to help Republicans. This is stuff that the Democrats have been calling out for a long time, and the Republicans have successfully managed to call it a hoax, because let's be real, the real scandals in American politics are boring. Like, if you're a normal person and you're trying to, like, go through it all, it's boring. It's nowhere near as exciting and spicy as the kind of stuff that the right likes to make up. You know, the Epstein files really took off because for once we had an exciting conspiracy theory that ended up being real. You know, like a one that at least was a little bit interesting, like crazy pedophile cabal conspiracy. Okay, all right, cool. This one's actually interesting. But most of the time when these scandals happen, they're kind of bland. It's the kind of stuff that you would roll your eyes in high school learning about in history class 10 years later, right? And this is one of those examples. All this foreign influence in our government, like, most people just ignore it. The Republicans get away with calling it a hoax or calling it Democrat fear-mongering because it's kind of boring. It's kind of dry. Nick Fuentes is lending some legitimacy to it, though, to a degree, among conservatives by talking about it, because most of Nick Fuentes' audience probably would have written off the vast majority of allegations that the Republicans were working with Russia, that they were working with Saudi Arabia, that they're working with Qatar, that any of these countries have an influence in American politics on behalf of Trump, is a pretty strong accusation for a conservative to hear.
Down to a science. I'm just saying, you got to be on the lookout that there is a lot of foreign money. The entire influencer space is awash in foreign cash. It's unbelievable. And so you see something like that. You see Tucker going to the Emirates and Saudi and Qatar. You see Candace going to Russia, and you say, what is going on? Candace is married to a British guy, and she's going to Russia. Tucker's going over to Qatar. Candace's number one backer is this guy named John Mappin. He's also British. His wife is from Kazakhstan. The wife is Kazakh. Very interesting, isn't it?
Some of this stuff's probably a pretty big reach, but the primary stuff, I think, is, you know, it's stuff that we know is going on. Saudi, Qatari, Russian influence in U.S. politics. We know this is happening. We know that they're paying some influencers to push their politics as well. Large sums.
And it goes around and around like this. I mean, there's some serious foreign influence networks going on in the influencer space, even, yes, including on the dissident right. And I think that's probably could be a reason why a lot of them don't like me. Could be part of it. Because I'm one of the only people that is not doing that sort of thing. I am not going to the Gulf. I am not going to Russia. I am not going to any of these places. I am not involved in that.
When he's talking about...
So that is the clip that's got everybody talking lately. I grabbed that clip from a channel called The Story Box, by the way, but that's just a clip from Nick Fuentes' show. It was the only version of the clip uncut that I could find on YouTube, because I didn't want to use Twitter in their low-quality video player. But Nick Fuentes, kind of a broken clock here. He's right on this one. He is. There is absolutely the dissident right. That's kind of what they're calling themselves, like Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, these people who've been ousted from the likes of Fox News and the Daily Wire, banned and relegated to places like Kick. They are calling themselves the dissonant right. This is literally just the new era of when these people started calling themselves intellectual dark web, which was also the beginning of the right's downfall in that era. So I genuinely feel like we're in that time. We're in that, like, equivalent of what kind of happened in 2018, where the right's stranglehold on online culture started to loosen a little bit. We started to see the cracks start to form, and it really began to crumble in 2019. But 2018, I kind of feel like the same thing's happening right now. Like, the red pill community's dying out. You've got so many of these like edgelord creators that have gotten away with making... I'm not one to, like, harp on people for jokes generally, like edgy jokes especially. I enjoy edgy humor, but, like, there's been a preponderance of people like Nux Taku and Rev Says Desu taking advantage of the right's free speech absolutist politics to get away with, like, normalizing pedophilia. Like, awful shit. And now it feels like people are recognizing, hey, maybe we don't want that kind of behavior to be allowed. Maybe we don't want that kind of behavior to be normalized, even if they're able to use some kind of vaguely conservative-sounding free speech absolutist argument to justify it. Maybe this isn't cool. Maybe the fact that conservatives are joining them in defending this behavior is a sign that the right has problems. I see this realization happening a lot. I've actually gotten sent some stories of people posting on social medias lately about how over the last, like, 6 or so months, they have been shifting from the right to the left politically. Like, a lot of younger people, like teenagers and whatnot. So if they took this MAGA crap too far, oh yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it.